All right, guys, hips part one. We're going to talk about now what happens in your hips. And in the second part, we're going to talk about what happens with your hips. In your hips means the following. A hip for me is the correlation between the big thigh bone, the pelvis, and the SI joint slash the lumbar spine. So whenever I say hip, I mean those three things working together, right? This is not just the pelvis, all three of them. What can happen in your hips? So you can tilt forward. We call it a stripper position, overarch position, whatever that is. The second one is tilting your hips backwards, right? We call it the pooping in the woods position. So whenever you squat below 90, your hips are going to shift, your knees going to come forward, and that's it. It's not a bad position. Both of those two positions should be unloaded only. So jumping should be practiced unloaded only. Those are not bad positions or positions to avoid. You just got to make sure those stay unloaded, please, right? Your body is not supposed to be loaded when you're overarched or when your hips are kind of shooting through and butt winking, however you want to call it, right? So what position should we use for loaded movements? Good question. We want the neutral hips. That means the position of your hips, your thigh bone, and your side joint lumbar spine in between tilting forward and backwards. That's the position we need for any single loaded movement out there. I don't care how it looks. This is what it should look like. This correlates with the U shape, right? So whenever you need a neutral hip, you need the U shape. Whenever you need the U shape, you need a neutral hip. So it's not even a correlation, it's a causation. Whenever you're not in a neutral hip position, you cannot be in a U-shaped position using your lower abs and your obliques. And that's what we see in practice when people have a hard time finding those muscles, right? Same goes with the unloaded movements. So you're tilting forward or backwards requires, quote unquote, the C shape to work. The C shape is the six pack, so an extension or bending of the spine. That's fine. We just have to figure out when to use what and how to train it properly.